Hey, welcome back to the Build Show. Steve Basic Architect. I'm out here, you can see at our Riverside project, and I'll just pan around. You can see all the ICF work is in place. We get all our bracing. Yeah, concrete's getting poured tomorrow, but I thought I'd run through a whole bunch of details with you in this episode, and we'll talk through a few of them before we get concrete here. So let's get started. All right, so climbed up on top of the catwalk here, and we got a few things to talk about up here. You can see the reinforcing is in place. Important thing about reinforcing is that we maintain a level of continuity. So you can see the reinforcing there. You can see how it laps the bar there, and then that bar comes across and it turns the corner and goes right into the lap joint right there, and then continues down through there. Now, that's one number 5 bar at the top of the wall. There's a second number 5 bar down here on the catwalk. And the reason that one isn't installed yet, you can see there's a couple links there. That one is going to go along the inside of here. But if they put that in right away, it would have some complication of getting the concrete down into the holes, right? So we look at it right here. So by not putting in the bar that goes here, it leaves a nice large opening here to get that concrete down inside the hole. And then as the concrete climbs up close to the top, they'll put that bar in, and then they'll pour the concrete and level it across the top of the block here. So, these are little tips that you do this long enough, then you pick up on these tips and you realize we need to get the little trunk from the concrete pump down in there, dropping some of the concrete. So here's another little detail. Notice on the corners, notice how thick the outside of that corner is. But then when it comes here, you can see how it thins out. And we basically have these little mini counterfords in, and they register directly with the lateral strapping here. But notice how they have a little tapered edge to them, and you can see it real clear there. You can see how that tapered edge, it goes out. Well, that's so that we get more concrete across the top here, and we get those 2 number 5 bars. So basically what that does is it makes a nice reinforced belt across the top of the wall. And really, when you think about the wall, what's the part of the wall that's the most susceptible? It's the top of the wall, right? Because it's the furthest away from the footing. So building that belt, and then that belt is tied in, you can see there, that's a vertical bar, and those are on 16 inches here, every other strap, and those go all the way down to the bottom of the wall. So basically we have an X and Y cage that's 6 1/4 inches that expands to about 7 1/2 inches up on the top of the wall so that we get concrete. And for those doing the math, 6 1/4 inch core, if we normally poured a 10-inch wall here, then reducing it to the 6 1/4 inch core means that we've taken out about 38% of the concrete in the wall, and we've added an R25 in the rigid insulation of the EPS here. So here's another detail. Just don't want to fall off the catwalk here. But notice we have a whole series of reinforcing bars that run down the wall. They come in, you can see how it comes in there, and then it gets tied to a bar that goes across here that's about 18 inches. And so what's going to happen here is, and like I said, you notice that they're all perfectly aligned there. Well, this is where our garage wall will come and eventually intersect. And you can see if we go down here, you can see the bars down the other side, sticking out right there. And so that's how we tie the garage wall into this wall. So right here is the center of the wall pretty much. And then what'll happen is they'll just carve out 8 inches of foam here, and then the concrete from the new garage foundation wall will butt right up to the inside face of the concrete here, or exterior face of the concrete there, and then that'll tie up here into our new garage wall. So the other thing we got going on here is, proper planning. We got one of our utility pipes already planned for. You can see zips right through, and then it's already foam sealed here. So knowing the placement of all these utilities allows us to put those in and then simply pour the concrete around them. All right, let's go look at another detail. Here's that splicing detail we talked about earlier. Notice how that splice joint goes vertically right down through the center of the whole wall. Remember, when they build the wall, they lay it out from the corner in and from the corner here in, and then they pick a point and they create the splice joint, and then they create these gusset plates. And the reason for that, remember, we talked about it earlier, is they pick a point where it's not going to interfere with that bracing and that bracing. So it conveniently falls in between the bracing. Again, when you're dealing with experts, these guys at Blue Green Building Concepts, they've been doing this a while. So you can see it happening over there too, right? That's the one seam for that wall. And notice how it conveniently falls in between the blocking. Now, some of you might be asking, how do these guys ensure that they're getting a straight wall? Well, you can see over in the corner there's a 3.5-inch block, 3.5-inch block on the wall there. And if I come around here, there's no surprise that there's a 3.5-inch block. And notice that they put the string on the outside face of that. And the reason they fur that off 3.5 inches is so that as they go down the wall, they're guaranteed that nothing is going to interfere with that string line. And so what that does is it allows them to pick a point anywhere along that string and measure back the 3.5 inches. And then they know that they have a nice straight wall so that they can adjust these braces and ensure that we're getting a nice straight wall across there. I wanted to point this out. Notice, this detail here where there's a bunch of additional foam in there. And the reason for that foam is that will eventually be a beam pocket. So, when you're dealing with concrete, you have to deal with negative space. So you pad this all out, the concrete then gets cast, and it gets cast around that on the outside. And then the contractor will simply dig all of this out, and we'll have that nice little 4-inch shelf there down. You can see it, the bottom of it right there. So we'll have that nice 4-inch shelf there of concrete that when this gets cut out, the new LVL beam will come right in and go all the way to the back side of that beam pocket and tie in very, very nicely. So we have another one here. Take a walk down. But you can see this is the same detail. It's just at the corner. Notice that down at the bottom there. So again, this will all get cast around, and then eventually we'll have a little concrete shelf there that is dimensionally similar to that 4-inch depth there. This EPS foam will then get cut out, and we'll have a beam. And you can see just vaguely on the other side there that you can see the black lines where the beam pocket will be receiving the beam on the other side. Climb down the ladder, came down there, and down the hole, let's look at some of this bracing. So, it's one thing to say, yeah, I've done ICFs, but it's another to be prepared for it. These guys at Blue Green Building Concepts, they have all the right staging. You can see how that basically just folds up, braces the wall fully, all the way down, all the way up to the top of the wall, provides all the necessary safety rails for the catwalk. You can see there, again, it's that pre-planning that the blue-green guys did, where they have the splices fall neatly in between the two bracing points, right? That it runs up the middle. So that's their planning ahead. And then when these things come down into the muck, you can see you drive a rebar in both directions. So these things are firmly braced down at the ground, and in the corners, they're braced in both directions. And again, you know, everything here is adjustable. Let's go all the way up to the top. And then you can see here, they also have the ability to pound in the wooden stake, and then they add a piece of reinforcing to that. So that's how we make sure, and we even have the lower bracket coming down to triangulate and grab the bottom of that bar, and then it's really reinforced in there. You can see that. But these are about, I don't know, 5 foot on centers, I think he said. So yeah, it's like I said, it's one thing to say you know what you're doing, but these guys obviously have done it before. Hey, one of the things I wanted to point out, you know, when you look at this, so that's a 9'4" foundation wall that we're casting there, but as we come around here, that's all the 9'4". But look at there, we add another 32 inches, and we are casting a 12-foot tall wall all at once down the backside here. And you can see they actually had to put some braces on, some extensions on the braces there. But yeah, these ICF blocks, they seem to impress me at every turn. So, and you know, it's not only the blocks. These gents from Blue Green Building Concepts and Howell Builders are just doing nothing but an exceptional job out here. I'm over here at one of the windows. I just want to show you this detail here. So this is another way to get the concrete in. You can see they cored about a 4-inch hole. You can see the piece right there, but that's to get concrete down through the ProBuck. And it appears they have a new one or another one planned for right there. But you can see the ProBuck in place along the jambs and the sill. And you know, on that larger sill, we talked about how the one of the pieces of ProBuck would get lifted up, but given this one's only about 5.5 feet long, they just chose to drill a couple holes there, and then they leave the cap there. So we'll fill that up and then apply that cap to it and plug it up. All right, so I grabbed a piece of the ProBuck here and up close so you can get a nice close look at it. We looked at it down in the hole, but it has basically a nice flat side that goes to the rough opening. Now you have to make up for that 1.5 inches there. It has these ribs, and then notice, oh, yeah, it stacks on itself there. But you notice that inside it has these loops, so concrete will bite onto that and basically hook each of those loops and tie that in, and then each of those loops are directly tied into a fastening rib that you can then screw in, and the fastening rib runs all the way down the outside. And of course, as we talked about up there, this dimension is the 6.25 inches, so that it ties nice and neatly into the side of that rough opening. So take a walk over here, you can actually see this one in place. You can see how it basically lines that opening and then comes down, makes the opening there. they reinforce the corners with the plywood. You know, like I said, these are guys that have been around the block. So you got your reinforcing there. And then they left out the center section so that we have the ability to drop the trunk in from the pump truck and get some concrete down in there. And then you can see here, just like at the top of the wall, this sill is laterally braced and tied into a series of rebar. It's hammered into the ground. Make sure that this doesn't blow out to the inside. And of course, we walk over here. See the Pro Buck there also. A little brace at the top. That's for the door opening for the walkout. And they have their little A-frame ladder. That's our way in and out of the hole. And then we have the last window on the walkout here. And you can see the fully lined with that Pro Buck and fully braced inside there, as well as all the other bracing. All right, well, it looks like we are ready for concrete. So we're going to sign off on this video. Steve Basic Architect, live from the build show, taking it down into the foundation hole. And we're out here at our Riverside project. So enjoy, everybody. Keep watching those videos. We got a lot more coming at you.